All right, hey guys, hope you're doing well. We're gonna wrap up this week with talking about the brain, specifically looking at memories and how memories are formed. So in addition to kind of talking through the notes, I'm gonna talk about your assignment real quick this week. So what you're gonna be doing is when the assignment on Classroom opens, look like this, and you're going to be selecting two TED Talks to listen to and watch on the complexity of memory. So you'll click this link here in the assignment. It'll open up this page, and you pick any of these that you want. So some of them are shortest about 10 minutes, longest is 20 minutes, so not bad at all. And I think you'll find these interesting. So pick something that you really find interesting. So how reliable are your memories? And false memories, really interesting. I can't remember if I ever gave you the name of that book, but the book that was telling you is really good. Is called Recursion. So if you're really interested in this stuff, the book is Blake Crouch. Yeah, if you're interested in this memory stuff, I would highly recommend this novel, Recursion. Really, really good, fast read. If you do read it and you want to talk about it, we can certainly do that. But if we had maybe I'll no, I can't really assign you to book to read. But if you do read it and you wanted to talk about it, I'd be more than willing to talk about it with you because it is an interesting book. But anyway, so you guys will select two of these and that are interest to you, and then complete for each of them. So put the name of each of the TED Talks and then a little analysis of that. All right, so that's this week's assignment. All right, so let's talk then a little bit about memory. So just to kind of recap, memory is controlled by your hippocampus. All right, your hippocampus, and the hippocampus, um, kind of shaped like a seahorse, is where it comes from. The name is the hippocampus is a type of seahorse. Okay, so generally, we used to just think short versus long-term memory as being the two ways in which we store and retrieve memories, but really it's a little bit more complex than that, like you'll see. Okay, so not only do we have short-term memory and long-term memory, but then we have all these different branches of long-term memory. Okay, so when we talk about thoughts, emotions, memories, these things are all connected, and they're all influenced by sights, sounds, all smells, right? All of those things, your special senses, your all of those things. Things that you learn go into your memory. Things that are skills go into your memory, right? So in terms of the time for your memory, there's sensory memory, which are things that you remember real quickly and then they're gone, right? So, if you see something outside and it doesn't really have any bearing to your long-term life, you're going to see it, you're going to forget it. Maybe you don't remember that you saw, a bird fly by your window earlier or something like that, because it's not something that you need to remember, all right? Short-term working memory are things that you remember for like about a minute or so, and then they're gone. So a lot of times when you're studying for a test, we want things to end up going into our long-term memory, but sometimes they just end up in our short-term memory depending on how much time we put into studying them or how much of an impact it has on your life. So when you're studying, and this goes for anything that you're studying for, if you're studying for your driver's test, if you're studying for your real estate exam or the MCAT or anything or any class coming forward, you want to make sure that the things that you're studying have some sort of connection, whether you make that connection authentically or not, but to something in your real life. So when you're studying for algebra or math, it's sometimes hard to make that connection to your real life, which is why sometimes it's difficult for people to remember concepts in math, right? So for things to get into your lifetime long-term memory, you really have to connect them to um, your day-to-day actions. And if that happens, your body will say, okay, this is important. We need to remember this. So you've got your conscious or your explicit memory, okay, which can be broken down into your declarative memory, which are facts and events and things like that that you can draw from. So from your declarative memory, which is part of your explicit or conscious memory, right, we've got events, we've got experiences in our life that we can draw on and we can remember as almost like episodes in a series, okay? These are things that you look back. Oh, I remember my trip to, Boston last summer or whatever. I don't know where that came from, but you know what I mean. You can remember things. You can remember your seventh grade science class. You can remember all of these things. You can remember, stuff that you did and places that you went. Semantic memory, which is also part of your explicit or your declarative memory, this is, studying facts, concepts, things that you remember long term. We all remember that, George Washington was the first president, right? That would be semantic memory, right? Something that we learned and that has ingrained as a concept. We weren't there, we didn't know, we didn't see George Washington, but we all know that fact that George Washington was the first president. We know that gravity is a concept. We understand things like that. So that all goes into that. It's really amazing. Right, so your implicit memory, which is your unconscious memory, is remembering how to breathe and all of those things, how to swallow, but also procedural tasks like riding a bike, um, you know, using scissors, things like that all go into your procedural memory. So very interesting. So when we look at Alzheimer's as a disease that breaks down the neurons and breaks down specifically these memories, so the first things that sort of go here a lot of times are things, in the short term, and then things that are facts, events, memories sort of get jumbled, and then ultimately someone dies of Alzheimer's when they lose that implicit memory and they no longer remember how to breathe or how to swallow, and that's generally how a person dies from Alzheimer's. So it's a very devastating disease. So how important are your memories? So thinking about this episodic memory, if you were involved in a traumatic event, this is kind of something to think about. Would you want to take a pill to have to not remember it, right? So how important are those memories? But they do shape us, negative and positive memories, shape our personality, shape our future decision making and how our frontal lobe processes things. Okay, so September 11th obviously was a very traumatic memory, and I'm sure if you talk to your parents, I'm sure if you talk to anybody that was old enough to remember 9/11, we remember where we were when we first got the news, we first saw this, and how we felt when we saw this. What now has become a memory. Um, Someday, this whole coronavirus will be a memory that you'll tell your kids and your grandkids when they ask about, oh my gosh, you couldn't leave your house. That was crazy. And you'd be like, yeah, it was. Maybe you'll, uh, be able to take that and share that with them. So, like I said, episodic memory is involved in remembering personal experiences. There's a phone conversation you had yesterday or the movie you watched last week. Okay? So the challenge here, do you remember the first Harry Potter movie? The Chamber, no, that wasn't it. What was it? The Sorcerer's Stone. What was the story? Remember, that was the first one he gets taken to Hogwarts, all that stuff. Yeah, how many details to remember? I'm sure if you're really sad here, I can come up with some details about it. But things to think about. How far back in that episodic memory can you go? But you may have watched this movie like last week on Freeform or something like that. I don't know. But think back to something maybe you saw a long time ago and how much you remember. Your semantic memory manages the storage and retrieval of general knowledge facts. Okay, so this is our semantic memory right here, like I said, like George Washington being the first president. So manages the storage and retrieval of general knowledge, like I said. How many days are there in a year? 365 days. Colors in the rainbow, right? Roy G. Biv, remembering that. So things that you kind of just quickly recall are part of your semantic memory. So what is this thing? Yeah, you might have thought scrunchy. That's what I thought, right? Where do kangaroos live? Australia. What actor played Bella in Twilight? I never knew that, so I don't know. Who is the vice president? It's I almost said Dick Cheney. That he's not been vice president for a long time. Mike Pence, vice president. So yeah, think about these things you can just recall if you knew them. You see, I didn't know this, so I can't recall that, right? Procedural memory allows us to learn activities and skills that we then perform automatically, like speaking would be an example of that, right? Riding a bicycle, driving a car, right? All things that we don't think about, they're procedural, right? But these things can, like I said, slip away if they're not used. Okay, your working memory provides temporary storage of information necessary for complex cognitive tasks, learning, reasoning. So this is your working memory is generally where you're studying for tests, exams, and things like that. Um, so you can kind of draw on these things and use them. Okay, so this is a game on working memory, right? If you when you look at the PowerPoint, you can feel free to take a look at this. I'm not gonna go through it, but working memory. Okay, you can also check out these images of the brain, pretty cool. Looking at the different parts. All right, so kind of a short little lecture there on memory. I want you guys to take the time to watch the TED Talks this week. Next week, I'm thinking maybe a little wrap up activity with all the brain and then a quiz on the brain to kind of close this out before we go to Memorial Day. So looking, today's the 17th, so next week, this is 25th is Memorial Day. So yeah, so sometime at the end of next week, maybe we'll have a short, just a quiz next week. I think that'll be the only assignment will be just to take the quiz on mastering. And then here in June, I'm not sure exactly what's going to be happening. I think I'll probably be finishing off the course after that quiz. Just kind of maybe checking in with you before the end, making sure that nothing is missing. But I don't see myself doing much after Memorial Day in this situation. Um, but I hope you guys are doing well. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out and I will do what I can to help you. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.